Hi, welcome to Wayne's World. Wayne's World, my world, is going to be focusing on music and film and how literature ties into both of those. Um, if you're here, you're probably a music or film buff. The area that I focus on is primarily the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. I will be upfront with you, not much of a fan of rap or hip hop. I recognize the greatness of the music, just doesn't communicate to me, which you can tell by looking at me, and probably because of my age group. Today, we're going to be focusing on three different artists from three different eras: the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. And for those three different artists, they have a number of things that have come out within the recent past. And the first one is the band Moby Grape. Moby Grape was a band in the 60s who Columbia elected to release the five singles from their first album in a terribly misguided marketing attempt to market them as the next big thing. They kind of were the next big thing. You had five songwriters in the band, five singers, three guitarists, and they were based out of San Francisco, although they were from all over. For example, Skip Spence got his start with the Jefferson Airplane as their drummer before co-founding Moby Grape, and was from Canada. And other members of the band as well came from other bands throughout California and other areas, all trekked to California. One, as I recall, was a California native. So the reason why I wanted to highlight this is because Moby Grape has not had all of the attention that it deserves as a band. Yes, it's known amongst music snobs like myself and music critics, as well as aficionados of the 60s, but they often get overlooked as primarily being a one album wonder because their first album, the terrific Moby Grape, was a brilliant album. It was. Um, Unfortunately, it was so hyped, and there were so many issues that occurred with management with the Grape as well as with their label, that it created issues for the band that prevented them from reaching the level of stardom that they truly deserved. They were a ferocious live band. I never got a chance to see them, but I've heard archival recordings of the band. And I can tell you that based on that, man, I would have loved to have been around to see these guys. They were before my time, though. The reason I wanted to highlight this book by Cam Cobb, though, is Cam Cobb does a very good history of the Grape, how they were founded, interviews various members that are alive today, as well as has some archival material in here from Skip, a number of bits of information about the difficulty with their manager. Their manager essentially signed them, and the band signed away all their rights to their names, the likeness, not their names, but the band name, their likeness, as well as the album covers and everything else, he ended up owning, which meant that his label, San Francisco Sound, ended up putting out these albums that were on CD when the CD era arrived, and when they were rediscovered, that were all pulled from vinyl, and they weren't pulled from master tapes. And in fact, we didn't get actual releases from the master tapes until the 90s when Sony put out a double disc set that highlighted their debut, their second album, all the way through the end of their contract with Columbia. They continued to record after that, intermittently, sometimes with Skip, sometimes without, and sometimes with various iterations of the lineup. But the bottom line is, whenever you had three grapes in a room, it was magic. And they certainly lived up to that. Cam Cobb's book is a very good overview. My only criticisms of the book is that Cam, I think, focuses a little too much on his entry point to the Grape and how it impacted him and formed his relationship with the band in terms of music and also his desire to write the book. I would have been more interested in more straightforward biography of the band. There is another one out there. I haven't read it. Also, Cam is also writing a book, or has written a book, on Skip Spence. Haven't had a chance to look at that yet. Cam is a very good writer. He does a very good job here. My only issue is, again, when you're reading this book, the focus is going to be less on his entry point and more where yours was in finding out about the band. So if you get a chance, it's worth picking up and reading. I would give it a 3 out of 5. Cam did a very good job with this book, and I know that he spent a lot of time researching it, talking to members of the Grape, etc. So Cam, if you happen to see this, please don't take offense. You did a fine job. I just think that this could be expanded and also be even more inclusive beyond the period of time that you cover here. So the second book is going to be from somebody from the 70s, a musician named Robyn Hitchcock, who was a member of the band called the Soft Boys. It was his band, and eventually it gained cult status in the United States. Never was a big success, never had a top 10 hit. Their most well-known album is Underwater Moonlight, which is a fine album. Robyn went on to a solo career and had a couple of hits, including Balloon Man, when he was on A&M Records in the 80s. The band is also notable for being the starting place for Kimberly Rue, who was one of the founders, guitarist, and main songwriter in the band Katrina and the Waves, which we all know from the song that we hear incessantly and that pays Kimberly's bills, no doubt, Walking on Sunshine. So Robyn has written a new memoir called 1967, How I Got There and Why I Never Left, which focuses on his love of psychedelia. If you're a Robyn fan, you already know that he's a psychedelia nut because his music is influenced by Syd Barrett of Pink Floyd, John Lennon from 1967, maybe 1966 as well. But 1967 is his touch point. His memoir kind of focuses on the music around at the time, how psychedelia impacted him, and essentially helped to give birth to the Robyn Hitchcock that we know and love. So this is well worth picking up. I highly recommend it. It's a well-written book. I would give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. My only complaint is that it isn't bigger. It isn't more expansive on his career and also going beyond this. But maybe he'll write one for each year where he was influenced. Who knows? Robyn, if you're watching, there's an idea, right? 1968, 69, etc. So, finally, I wanted to highlight Steve Kilbey. Steve Kilbey has written his first novella. It's a very good novella. I can't find my copy. I've shelved it away somewhere, but it's a science fiction tale that's well worth investigating. He also has a CD EP that goes along with that, which is called Pandora Mod Z Art. So I do recommend this. It is available, as I recall, at the church website. It's also available at church gigs. I had a chance to meet and talk to Steve about the album and the novella. And at the time, this is before the novella came out and before the CD came out as well. I mentioned that he would be a great candidate to write a novel because he's got a very strong literary sense and a very strong voice. And he said, oh, I have one coming out. And so the next time I was at the next church gig, lo and behold, it was there along with his CD. So, and I asked him about it there as well. And he recommended both of them because they both tied in together. They meshed well. So they're both well worth picking up. Next time I'll have an image of Stephen's book. I just don't have it handy at the moment. That concludes it for now. Next time, who knows what I'll talk about? It'll be more ramblings from Wayne's World. Have a good day. Bye.